Boom! Another violent explosion echoed from a distance. Immediately after, a scorching surge of destructive energy swept in like a gale. In an instant, the towering ancient trees in this area were snapped cleanly at the waist, ancient trunks flying everywhere as dust filled the sky. Amid this fierce energy storm, two figures stood unmoving like rocks, one old and one young. The elder had a calm expression, hands clasped behind his back, head held high. His white robe fluttered in the wind, giving him an unrestrained and elegant bearing. The storm caused him no harm at all. The young man, however, was gripping tightly onto a massive ruler that was embedded in the ground. Under the storm's impact, he looked like a small boat in a raging sea, on the verge of capsizing at any moment. His face twisted in pain, appearing extremely disheveled. A closer look revealed them to be old Yi and Xiao Yan. Phew, the violent storm finally subsided. Xiao Yan tilted his body and collapsed weakly onto the ground. As he caught his breath, the pain from the various wounds all over his body made him inhale sharply again. However, it seemed that he had already grown used to ignoring such pain. This thing is simply torture, Xiao Yan said irritably as he slammed his fist against his chest. Ever since he followed his teacher to seek a breakthrough into the Emperor Soldier realm amid the violent energy storms, the might formula had behaved like a starving wolf. Every time a wave of energy struck, the overwhelming destructive aura contained within it was completely devoured by it. The consequence was that his fragile soul was tortured to the point of near exhaustion. Now, even the slightest movement of Xiao Yan's head would trigger searing pain that drilled into his soul, driving his nerves into madness and making him nearly lose control. Although his soul was suffering greatly, his cultivation through these energy storms had yielded remarkable progress. Just 2 days ago, Xiao Yan successfully advanced into the Imperial Master Realm. The 9 origin chains had merged into a single new chain about the thickness of a calf. A faint, jade-like glow flowed over it, making it appear pure and translucent. Although it lacked the previous visual shock, the primordial Emperor Qi it contained was far beyond what before could compare. The amount of primordial Emperor Qi within this single chain was equivalent to all the Emperor Soldier realm's 9 origin chains combined, and even surpassed them. Xianxia stepped forward and glanced at the exhausted Xiao Yan, laughing and scolding. All right, stop complaining. You've gone through 8 storms in total, and you complained 7 times. Xiao Yan chuckled. So there's still one time I didn't complain. Xianxia rolled his eyes and said lightly, that time you fainted from a pain. But teacher, the damage to the soul is still too great. In less than 2 months, my soul has already been severely injured. Now, let alone alchemy, even the slightest movement of my soul causes intense pain. Xiao Yan said after thinking for a moment, unable to hold back his complaint. If an enemy exploited this weakness during battle, he would have no choice but to flee. Whether he could escape was another matter. This is indeed a problem, but for now, it isn't too serious. Once you leave, as long as you behave and don't provoke any Emperor Sovereign level experts, the aura of those below that level won't affect you at all. Xiao Yan couldn't help rolling his eyes. Behave yourself. Easier said than done. There's another method, Xianxia continued. Speed up the might formula's absorption of the required aura for its first stage. Once it is complete, it will enter a dormant state. During that time, quickly raise your soul level, and the impact will be reduced. Hearing this, Xiao Yan first felt a burst of joy, then helplessly sighed. In the end, suffering was unavoidable. In a mountain stream, under the impact of a terrifying current, Xiao Yan's legs trembled, and he lost his footing, crashing heavily into the deep, unfathomable river below, splashing up waves several meters high. Again, in the next moment, the river was forcefully split apart. Xiao Yan leapt out, wielding the azure flame ruler as he landed on a smooth boulder constantly battered by the current. The ruler in his hands swung without gaps, resisting the tremendous force of the water. This time, He held on slightly longer than before. When a wave of soreness spread through his shoulders, his movements slowed just a fraction. The surging current instantly broke through the defense of his ruler and once again smashed him into the river. In the distance, Etianshan glanced at the young man who resurfaced again and smiled faintly. A trace of age seemed to deepen on his weathered face as he moved a finger inside his sleeve. Within 3 days, after a long silence, a soft sigh escaped his lips. Once again knocked into the river by the current, Xiao Yan exhaustedly floated back to the surface, wiped his face, and allowed the water to carry him slowly into the distance. After more than a month of cultivation, Xiao Yan's strength had firmly stabilized at the first-tier Imperial Preceptor level. With the vast primordial Emperor Qi within his body and the Azure Flame ruler, he was confident that he could defeat even ordinary 5th-tier Imperial Preceptors. If he factored in the 9 revolutions wind-roaming art he had mastered, then even when facing a peak Emperor Master-level expert, Xiao Yan was highly likely to escape successfully. 3 years in the illusory realm, yet less than a year has passed outside, and my strength has improved so much. Lying back in the water, Xiao Yan raised one hand and slowly clenched it, sensing the faintly recovered primordial Emperor Qi within his body. He let out a long breath and narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked toward the dimmed sun in the sky. Sunlight filtered through the sparse branches, casting a faint warmth over his body. "Teacher, thank you." His raised fist tightened unconsciously, a faint cracking of knuckles echoing out. Xiao Yan murmured softly, the resolute light in his eyes gradually fading away. Boom! Another earth-shaking explosion rang out in the distance. In an instant, a violent energy storm swept over. The river beneath him roared wildly like an enraged dragon, waves surging, shattered stones slicing through the air, and raging winds carrying towering tides that slammed repeatedly against both banks. Within this raging energy storm, the towering trees on both sides were uprooted and swept into the vortex, instantly reduced to powder that scattered through the air. Even the surrounding low mountain peaks were struck by this near-destructive force, sending boulders flying in all directions and filling the air with howling echoes. In the river, Xiao Yan's expression remained as calm as still water. He allowed the overwhelming energy storm to sweep over him. Almost the moment it made contact, all his clothes were reduced to dust, and several bone-deep wounds appeared across his body. He exhaled lightly and clenched his teeth, not letting out a single cry of pain. The pain he was enduring now was insignificant compared to what would come later. At that moment, a faint black gold light suddenly emerged from Xiao Yan's chest. A palm-sized black gold character shot out from his body like a streak of lightning, violently plunging into the overwhelming energy storm. The moment the black gold character entered the storm, the destructive aura filling the region abruptly weakened, and that terrifying pressure on the mind instantly dissipated. Ugh! Even though he was somewhat prepared, the pain that surged from the depths of his soul, piercing into both his spirit and rationality, still caused Xiao Yan to cry out miserably. His body trembled uncontrollably as he curled into a ball, flailing wildly in the water, while low, beast-like growls continuously escaped his throat. The prestige force art brought to Xiao Yan was not only the strengthening of his soul, but even more so, endless pain. At most, he had only experienced its benefits when refining the clarity restoration pill. But this pain, he had endured it many times already. To wear the crown, one must bear its weight. At this moment, Xiao Yan was fully enduring a burden that ordinary life could not withstand. Once he endured this pain, he would be worthy of the crown. Before long, the energy storm gradually dissipated. Xiao Yan, covered in injuries, lay among a pile of ruins, gasping for breath. Sensing his seemingly fading soul, he could not help but let out a bitter smile. The damage the prestige force art inflicted on the soul would not cause it to dissipate, but the pain could drive a person insane. If not for Xiao Yan's exceptionally resilient will, he would have suffered a mental breakdown long ago. Even so, a suppressed rage was slowly building within his chest with nowhere to release. How long will this kind of life last? He sighed bitterly and closed his eyes to rest. With some high-grade medicinal liquids gifted by Elder E, the wounds on Xiao Yan's body quickly scabbed over. In less than a day, they fell away, revealing smooth, renewed flesh beneath. Once his primordial Emperor Qi recovered, Xiao Yan sprang up, took out a set of black robes from his storage ring, and put them on while muttering, "If this storm comes a few more times, I'm going to end up cultivating naked." As he muttered softly, the space around Xiao Yan suddenly twisted. In the next moment, his figure vanished abruptly. Looking at the familiar green stone plaza, Xiao Yan's heart suddenly tightened, as if he had guessed something. With an uneasy feeling, he met Elder Yi's gaze. "Prepare yourself. We're leaving the illusory realm." The tone was calm, without the slightest fluctuation, as if speaking of something entirely unrelated to himself. Xiao Yan fell silent. What was coming had finally arrived. Elder Yi did not have the ability to stop it, nor did he. Since that was the case, he would let things take their natural course. I had already died 10,000 years ago. This time, it is merely a more thorough end. Besides, with a little fellow like you, I can be considered to have someone to carry on my legacy. At this moment, Xianxia stood in white robes with white hair, carrying a trace of carefree ease, much like his unrestrained demeanor from years ago. "Before I die, your teacher will give you one piece of advice. In the great world, if you want to thrive, you must have some truly loyal and powerful friends. A person must have pride in their bones, but never arrogance. This is a lesson your teacher paid for with his life." Xianxia smiled helplessly. If his arrogance in life had not been so great, then with his skills as an alchemy saint master, when he was intercepted in the forest domain, there would not have been not a single supreme saint expert willing to help him. Engraving Xianxia's words deep into his heart, Xiao Yan took a deep breath and suddenly spoke. "Teacher, who was it that attacked you back then?" As his words ended, a trace of killing intent had already begun to spread within his chest. Xianxia's brows twitched slightly, but he did not answer immediately. After a long silence, he let out a deep sigh, his voice somewhat hoarse. "Some things are not for you to know right now. But I will grow stronger," Xiao Yan said in a deep voice, his tone filled with unwavering resolve. A faint smile gradually appeared on Xianxia's lips. Looking at the determined young man before him, he let out a soft chuckle. Extending his hand, he gently grasped the air, and a nearly transparent bead suddenly appeared. "This spirit source pearl contains all the information your teacher possesses. If you truly have the will, then cultivate diligently. When you're able to break this pearl, you may do whatever you wish. If you cannot, then live peacefully in the great world as you see it. Whether or not you can break it, your teacher hopes you will live well. After all, this great world is still quite wonderful." Looking at the disciple who satisfied him, Xianxia smiled and handed the spirit source pearl to Xiao Yan. "Little fellow, once you have seen what is inside, no matter what you choose to do, your teacher's spirit in the heavens will bless you." By the end, Xianxia even spoke words that sounded somewhat self-mocking. Xiao Yan nodded silently. Knowing Xianxia meant well, he accepted the spirit source pearl. The moment it entered his hand, an unbreakable sensation rose within him. He tried to let his soul power seep into it, but it was like a stone sinking into the ocean. There was no response at all. Storing the spirit source pearl into his storage ring, Xiao Yan seemed to recall something and softly asked, "Teacher, your soul imprint. You little fellow really have no idea how difficult it is to accomplish such a thing." Xianxia pursed his lips and smiled faintly. "By the way, you once said your goal is Cloudfall Academy in the Star Moon Spirit Domain. St. Fall Mountain is still quite a distance from the border of the Forest Domain. If you travel on your own, it would take at least 3 to 4 years. Even after reaching the Star Moon Spirit Domain, it would still take 5 to 6 years to arrive at Cloudfall Academy. The journey time is simply too long. Later, I will use my soul power to send you near a city at the edge of the forest domain when this illusory realm disappears. That will save you more than 3 years of travel." Interrupting Xiao Yan before he could speak, Xianxia quickly spoke a long string of words, diverting his attention slightly. After hearing this, Xiao Yan could not help but twitch his lips. No wonder the holy rank trial allowed 15 years. With such a vast distance, even 20 years would not be excessive. Just as Xianxia was about to say something more, his expression suddenly changed. His deep gaze turned toward the distance, where the mountain ranges had already transformed into streams of illusory soul power, returning to his forehead. "It has begun." Xianxia took a deep breath, as if feeling a sense of release. He then looked at Xiao Yan, hesitated for a moment, and extended his somewhat aged hand to gently pat the latter's head. "Little fellow, from now on, your cultivation can only rely on yourself. You must not tarnish your teacher's name." Without waiting for Xiao Yan's reply, he let out a low shout. In the distance, countless mountains transformed into tides of formless soul power that surged forward. Xianxia cast one final glance at Xiao Yan before lightly pointing at him. The space around Xiao Yan instantly collapsed, and a bone-chilling spatial storm burst forth. Under the control of Xianxia's vast soul, the storm enveloped Xiao Yan's body and vanished in an instant. At the moment Xiao Yan lost consciousness, Xianxia's gentle voice echoed by his ear. "After your teacher falls, all that I possess will turn into a ring. My soul imprint will also be within it." As the words faded, Xiao Yan's vision went black, and his consciousness slipped away. Using his immense soul power to send Xiao Yan to a safe location, Xianxia let out a soft breath. He lifted his head to look at the green stone plaza that had begun to dissipate, without a trace of panic in his eyes. Straightening his slightly disheveled robes, he gazed up at the already empty sky and softly said, "Farewell, great world." As the final word left his lips, Elder Yi's figure slowly faded away, dissolving into nothingness between heaven and earth. Only an extremely faint soul imprint remained. After writhing briefly, it pierced through space and vanished without a trace. Tens of thousands of miles away from St. Fall Mountain, a number of powerful heavenly beasts gazed at the gradually weakening violent energy storm surrounding the mountain, and all let out sighs of relief. The terrifying storm had erupted without warning 3 days earlier. Even from tens of thousands of miles away, they could still feel the overwhelming pressure that reached into the depths of their souls. Its boundless aura was like an endless ocean, forcing even these overlords of the region to endure 3 days that felt like a living hell. Fortunately, the storm had weakened considerably. Had it continued much longer, many of the weaker subordinates within their territories would have perished. What has happened to St. Fall Mountain these past few days? I've never heard of such an energy storm occurring there. Deep within a mountain range hundreds of thousands of miles away, several powerful beings communicated through their spiritual senses. 100 years ago, deep within the 100,000 mountains, this king heard an ancient turtle that had lived for hundreds of thousands of years say that the master of St. Fall Mountain seemed destined to fall within these next few years. Replied a spiritual voice that rumbled like furious thunder. "Black Lion, are you telling the truth?" Hearing this, the owner of the previous spiritual message was instantly shocked, its spiritual will overflowing with uncontrollable delight. "What? Old bull, are you thinking of searching St. Fall Mountain for treasures? This queen has heard that the ancient mystic sparrow has long had its eyes on that place. She has probably sensed it already. Whether or not St. Fall Mountain truly holds relics left behind by a supreme saint, with only your Emperor Dao level strength, do you really think you could snatch them right under that demon woman's nose?" Another spiritual message drifted out, soft and seductive to the bone, instantly filling the surrounding world with an oddly languid atmosphere. "Moof." Hearing the unmistakable mockery in her tone, the owner of the previous spiritual message snorted coldly. Perhaps intimidated by her terrifying strength, he did not lose his temper. After a brief pause, he sent out a vicious thought. That wretched woman has only been a heavenly supreme for a few hundred years. Once I get the chance, I'll make her kneel before me and beg for mercy." Hearing such a venomous declaration, the others merely sneered before falling silent once more. Boom! After being violently hurled to the ground by the spatial storm, Xiao Yan was left thoroughly dazed. He rested for a moment, and once his mind cleared, he sprang to his feet with a nimble kip-up. Looking around at the unfamiliar surroundings, Xiao Yan couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. Where was this place? Just then, the space that had spat him out suddenly twisted. A jet-black ring slowly floated out, spun gently in midair, then shot forward like a bolt of lightning and slipped onto Xiao Yan's finger of its own accord. The instant he sensed the familiar trace of soul aura lingering within the ring, Xiao Yan's heart tightened. His teacher had truly fallen. Thud! With a solemn expression, Xiao Yan knelt before the distorted space and silently kowtowed 9 times in succession. He did not protect himself with primordial Emperor Qi. Each time, his forehead slammed heavily against the hard ground. Before long, blood began to stain the earth. After the 9th kowtow, Xiao Yan slowly raised his head and murmured, "Teacher, your disciple will not disappoint you." With those words, Xiao Yan called out to Xiao Ao, who had emerged from his body out of curiosity, then turned and left without looking back. At the spot where Xiao Yan had kowtowed, the faint imprint of his forehead remained deeply etched into the ground. Moments later, a gentle breeze swept by, stirring up dust and sand until it was gradually buried from sight. Standing atop a small earthen hill, Xiao Yan narrowed his eyes as he looked into the distance. Crimson gold flames slowly flickered within his pupils. As far as he could see, layer upon layer of dense forest stretched endlessly before him. After staring for a while, he withdrew his gaze with a helpless sigh. In a place where everything looked exactly the same, he seemed to have gotten lost. "I've been walking for 3 days and still haven't run into a single person." Straightening his clothes, Xiao Yan let out a bitter laugh. Feeling somewhat irritated, he rubbed Xiao Ao's large head beside him, earning an exasperated eye roll from the latter. The only thing that gave Xiao Yan some comfort was that there were far fewer magical beasts nearby. Even those that remained were merely low-level spirit beasts. To someone as experienced as Xiao Yan, this was a clear sign that he was nearing a human city. After resting briefly, Xiao Yan was just about to continue on his way when his expression suddenly changed. Soul power surged from between his brows, and in an instant, everything within dozens of miles was reflected clearly in his mind. Humans. The moment his soul power picked up a faint yet oddly familiar fluctuation, Xiao Yan froze. A surge of joy immediately spread across his face. Though the presence was so weak it could almost be ignored, Xiao Yan's soul, tempered countless times on the brink of unbearable agony, still managed to detect that tiny trace of human aura. Identifying the direction of the incoming fluctuation, Xiao Yan immediately let out a hearty laugh. He had been cultivating alone in the forest domain for a long time. Although his strength had increased tremendously, Xiao Yan was ultimately human. The dull, lifeless environment of the forest domain, along with the constant physical and mental torment, had never stopped haunting him. Now that he was about to meet others of his kind, his excitement was beyond words. Calling out to Xiao Ao, who was playing nearby, Xiao Yan's body shot forward, violently racing toward the northeast. "Brother Qin, be careful." At the same moment, this panicked cry rang out. A black figure awkwardly rolled across the ground like a lazy donkey, barely managing to avoid a massive boulder crashing down at him. Hearing the thunderous impact behind him, Qin Fei broke out in a cold sweat. With no time to think, he sprang up and lunged forward, narrowly dodging the Black Scaled Serpent's second attack. After being pulled to safety by his teammates, Qin Fei finally managed to catch his breath. Turning around, he looked at the several dozen long black serpent in the distance, a trace of lingering fear rising in his expression. "Damn it! Why is my luck so bad today? I finally got the chance to lead a team out, and we run into this damned snake." Qin Fei gritted his teeth as he took a steel blade out from his storage ring. Beside him, a lean man let out a bitter smile. He tightened his grip on his steel blade, which already had several chips in it, while staring at the Black Scaled Serpent with deep fear. This Black Scaled Serpent was an Eight Dao Emperor soldier-level spirit beast. Among low-tier spirit beasts, it stood at the very peak. Yet they had encountered it just 2 days after setting out. Their luck was truly atrocious. "Brother Qin, let's run. 2 of our brothers are already injured. If this continues, we won't even be able to escape," the lean man said through gritted teeth. Although there were 6 of them in total, Qin Fei, their strongest, was only at 5 Dao Emperor soldier level. Of the remaining 5, 3 Dao Emperor soldier level companions were already injured, and the other 2 were rookies who had just joined the mercenary corps. The fact that they hadn't already been scared out of their wits was impressive enough. Glancing at the Black Scaled Serpent, its snake tongue flicking out as its egg-sized black eyes fixed on them, Qin Fei took a deep breath and finally said through gritted teeth, "Wu Zhang, take them and leave first. I'll hold the Black Scaled Serpent back." Wu Zhang was startled and quickly replied, "Brother Qin, how could you possibly hold off that beast alone? If something goes wrong, how am I supposed to explain it to the captain?" His voice even carried a hint of crying. "Get lost. Say something useful for once. If I can't hold it back, do you think you can?" Qin Fei glared, then kicked Wu Zhang and shouted, "Go. Tell my father to avenge me." With a rather tragic roar, Qin Fei raised his steel blade and swung it furiously, locking his gaze tightly on the slowly advancing Black Scaled Serpent. Seeing this, Wu Zhang said nothing more. He immediately sheathed his blade and led the other 4 team members as they turned and fled. A flash of brutality appeared in the Black Scaled Serpent's dark eyes as its speed suddenly surged. In the blink of an eye, it reached Qin Fei. Its heavily scaled body struck lightly, and Qin Fei's steel blade shattered instantly. Shit! Looking at the gaping maw right in front of him, a thick stench of blood and flesh surged out. Qin Fei's clothes were instantly drenched in sweat, and an indescribable terror surged onto his pale face. A 5 Dao Emperor soldier like him had absolutely no power to resist an 8 Dao Emperor soldier-level Black Scaled Serpent. A female team member fleeing in the distance turned back at the sound, and upon seeing this scene, her face turned deathly pale in fright. She stumbled and fell heavily to the ground, the pain and terror making her cry out. "Damn it!" Wu Zhang cursed helplessly in his heart. Just as he turned back to help the fallen woman up, he saw Qin Fei about to be swallowed alive by the Black Scaled Serpent, and his face instantly went pale as well. Whoosh! Just as despair engulfed everyone, a piercing sound of breaking wind suddenly rang out. In the next instant, Wu Zhang only felt a blur before his eyes. When his vision cleared again, the previously unstoppable Black Scaled Serpent had already been sent flying backward, coughing up black blood along the way. Suddenly, light returned to his eyes. Qin Fei, who had been waiting for death with his eyes closed, was startled. When he opened them, he saw the Black Scaled Serpent violently crash into several ancient trees. Its body trembled as its vitality rapidly faded, while a faint chuckle echoed by his ear. "This big brother, are you all right?" The early stage build-up has finally come to an end after much effort. It's also a departure from the calm pace. Xiao Yan has returned to the human world once again. The blood boiling in his chest has only just begun to surge. After all, where there are people, there is the world. And where there is the world, all stories can happen. We will do our best to continue Xiao Yan's glory. Please collect and support. Qin Fei, whose expression was somewhat dazed, suddenly jolted awake upon hearing those words. He turned toward the sound and saw a black-robed young man standing beside him, casually brushing off slightly disheveled clothing. When the young man noticed Qin Fei's gaze, he offered a faint, warm smile, instantly easing the tension in Qin Fei's heart. Gulp! Looking at the young man who seemed even a bit younger than himself, Qin Fei couldn't help but swallow hard. After a long pause, he finally asked in a trembling voice, The Black Scaled Serpent, was it you who killed it? His tone was filled with deep disbelief. The Black Scaled Serpent. The black-robed young man gave a faint smile, glancing at the dead black snake in the distance. He nodded casually as if it meant nothing. Just a useless black-scaled serpent. Hearing this near confirmation, Qin Fei immediately drew a sharp breath. The Black-Scaled Serpent was a spirit beast of Eight Dao Emperor Disciple level, and it was especially known for its defensive strength. Even ordinary 4 or 5 Dao Imperial Masters would not dare claim they could kill it in a single strike. Could the young man in front of him be a 6 Dao or even 7 Dao Imperial Master? Heaven! Someone of that level was beyond what even the young masters of Falling Stone City could possess. Thank you for saving me, young brother. I am Qin Fei, a squad captain of the Rockfall Mercenary Group in Falling Stone City. Qin Fei stood up and cupped his fist respectfully toward the black-robed youth, his voice filled with boundless gratitude. Xiao Yan. The black-robed young man lightly cupped his hands in return, his smile unchanged. Brother Qin, you're exaggerating. It was just a small matter, nothing worth mentioning. Hearing Xiao Yan's casually indifferent tone, Qin Fei could only smile wryly in his heart. Nothing worth mentioning? That black-scaled serpent, which had nearly wiped out their entire group, was treated as something insignificant in his eyes. Brother Qin, are you all right? Just as Qin Fei was about to speak, Wu Zhang rushed over anxiously. Seeing the black-scaled serpent's corpse in the distance, he couldn't help but swallow hard. Then, after secretly glancing at Xiao Yan, he turned to Qin Fei and said, "This is Wu Zhang, my teammate." Wu Zhang hurriedly bowed deeply toward Xiao Yan. He had personally witnessed how this young man, who looked even younger than him, had killed the black-scaled serpent. One kick, just one kick, and that terrifying beast lost its life. Xiao Yan nodded in response, treating it as a greeting. Among the 5 who had fled earlier, aside from Qin Fei, this man could be considered the strongest, having reached the level of a 4 Dao Emperor soldier. The 3 men and 1 woman who arrived later were introduced one by Qin Fei. All of them looked at Xiao Yan with gratitude and respect. After all, they had almost certainly died under the black-scaled serpent's overwhelming strength, yet they had survived. The excitement of escaping death was impossible to hide toward the young man who had essentially saved all their lives. At the same time, Xiao Yan's overwhelming strength also shocked them deeply. Killing the black-scaled serpent with a single kick, such power was possessed by fewer than 10 people even within their Rockfall Mercenary Group. Moreover, this young man was so young. During the introductions, Xiao Yan glanced a few extra times at the woman named Ling Fei. Although she was fairly decent in appearance, she was by no means a beauty. Perhaps due to years without contact with the opposite sex, Xiao Yan instinctively looked at her twice, but he felt no desire whatsoever. Over these years in the forest, what he had gained was not only strength, but also state of mind. Amused, he looked at the tear streaks still visible on her face and couldn't help but mutter inwardly. Weren't women who joined mercenary groups supposed to be tough? Yet here was one who had been frightened to tears by a magical beast. Sensing Xiao Yan's gaze lingering on her face, Ling Fei's cheeks flushed slightly red. A hint of shy, girlish demeanor appeared in her eyes as she looked back at him. Seeing this, Xiao Yan was momentarily stunned. This woman, she could be quite bold in situations like this. With a helpless smile, Xiao Yan turned his gaze toward Qin Fei, who also seemed slightly distracted. He lightly coughed to interrupt Qin Fei's overly optimistic thoughts and said, "Brother Qin, I was previously cultivating elsewhere in the forest domain when I got chased by a spirit beast and lost my way. I hope you can tell me where I am right now." Qin Fei quickly came back to his senses and said, "You're too polite, Brother Xiao Yan. If you continue northeast for less than half a day, you'll enter the territory of Falling Stone City. Falling Stone City belongs to Western Star Commandery and is one of its 13 cities. May I ask where Brother Xiao Yan is from?" Western Star Commandery, Falling Stone City. Xiao Yan murmured to himself before replying casually, "I am from Wutan City." Wutan City. Qin Fei thought for a moment, then said somewhat awkwardly, "It seems there is no city named Wutan City in Western Star Commandery. Wutan City is a small frontier town under the jurisdiction of the West Spirit Prefecture. It's normal that Brother Qin hasn't heard of it. When I was young, I left home with my parents, and I haven't been back for many years now. I suppose it may have already been renamed." Xiao Yan said with a calm expression, still smiling. West Spirit Prefecture, no wonder. Qin Fei smiled and did not ask further. Western Star Commandery belongs to Heavenly Wood Prefecture, and West Spirit Prefecture is separated from Heavenly Wood Prefecture by an unknown number of years of travel. Even his father had never been there, let alone him. If little brother Xiao Yan has nothing else to do, would you be willing to visit Falling Stone City? It would also allow me to repay your life-saving kindness. Seeing that Xiao Yan had fallen silent, Qin Fei thought for a moment and spoke cautiously. If he could make friends with such a young powerhouse, it would surely benefit his Rockfall Mercenary Group. After pondering for a moment, Xiao Yan nodded as well. Then I'll trouble Brother Qin. He was already planning to head to Falling Stone City, so traveling together would be fine. Moreover, since these people were mercenaries, they might also be able to gather some information along the way. Hearing Xiao Yan agree, Qin Fei was instantly delighted. Then please wait a moment, little brother. As he spoke, he waved his hand. Wu Zhang beside him immediately led a few others to the corpse of the Black Scaled Serpent. They took out daggers and skillfully disemboweled it. Soon after, a spirit core covered in black blood was taken out by Wu Zhang. Looking at the spirit core with a face full of joy, Qin Fei couldn't help but feel ecstatic. This was the spirit core of an Eight Dao Emperor soldier-level spirit beast. It could fetch at least 2,000 to 3,000 Emperor crystals. The value of just this one core was equivalent to 5 3-star spirit beast cores they had painstakingly obtained over 3 days. Little brother Xiao Yan, once we reach Falling Stone City, we'll sell this spirit core, and all the proceeds will go to you. I will also take out 10,000 Emperor crystals from the group as repayment for your life-saving grace. I hope you won't find it too little. Despite his rugged appearance, Qin Fei was quite thoughtful as he smiled at Xiao Yan. Hearing this, Xiao Yan's impression of Qin Fei improved significantly. He smiled lightly and shook his head. It's just a low-grade spirit core. Use the proceeds to treat your injuries instead. However, I still need Brother Qin's help in selling these cores. As he spoke, Xiao Yan waved his hand. A faint glow flashed across his storage ring, and in the next moment, nearly 50 spirit cores emitting various colored lights suddenly appeared in the clearing. These are all spirit cores. Qin Fei stared blankly at the 50-plus cores, his breathing becoming rapid. Among them were nearly 10 intermediate spirit cores. Not only him, but the other 5 also swallowed unconsciously at the sight. How much can all these spirit cores be worth? Xiao Yan looked directly into Qin Fei's eyes and smiled. Most of these low-level cores were obtained before he entered the illusory realm, while the 8 intermediate cores were obtained after he left it, when he tested the strength of an Imperial Master by killing intermediate spirit beasts at the level of 3 to 4 Dao Imperial Masters. Recovering from his shock, Qin Fei's eyes grew even more respectful. Although he had seen stronger experts than Xiao Yan, the latter's age was right in front of him, and this alone was enough to inspire admiration. Low-grade spirit cores sell for about 1,000 to 3,000 Emperor crystals each on the market, while intermediate ones go for 5,000 to 10,000. Little brother Xiao Yan, you have a total of 58 cores, 8 of which are intermediate, so the total value is... After a moment of thought, Qin Fei suddenly looked up and said, Little brother Xiao Yan, rest assured, I will give you 200,000 Emperor crystals. When he said this, his voice even trembled slightly. 200,000 Emperor crystals was equivalent to the Rockfall Mercenary Group's entire monthly income. 200,000, Xiao Yan felt a slight surge of joy inwardly. He understood that Qin Fei was calculating based on the highest possible price. He might even end up paying out his own pocket. With a quiet sigh, Xiao Yan took out 3 clarity restoration pills and said, These are given to me by my parents. Although they're only first-grade pills, They are excellent for restoring primordial emperor qi. Upon hearing the words clarity restoration pills, Qin Fei's eyelids twitched, and then he was overjoyed. He was very familiar with them. Within Falling Stone City, they were widely known but extremely scarce. A single clarity restoration pill already cost around 5,000 emperor crystals, a price high enough to make people envious. He had only seen his own father possess a few and had long coveted them. Under the envious gazes of the others, Qin Fei accepted the 3 pills and smiled. Rest assured, little brother, I will deliver the full 200,000 emperor crystals. Xiao Yan smiled faintly as a slight wave of emotion rose within him. The second stage of Cloudfall Academy's Holy Rank trial required obtaining 10 million emperor crystals. Although this 200,000 was only a small portion, it was at least a good beginning. After getting everything in order, Xiao Yan followed Qin Fei and the others toward Falling Stone City. Perhaps it was the joy of surviving a life-and-death ordeal, or perhaps the excitement of obtaining 3 clarity restoration pills, but Qin Fei talked non-stop along the way. Though much of it was idle chatter, Xiao Yan's casual, seemingly offhand questions allowed him to gather quite a bit of useful information. The forest domain was unimaginably vast. Even an expert at the Imperial Path level would need decades to cross it from end to end. Although the endless primeval forest occupied most of the region, there were still nearly 50 or 60 prefectures scattered around its outer borders. The distance between neighboring prefectures was enormous, and under normal circumstances, someone of Qin Fei's level would never have the opportunity to visit another prefecture in their lifetime. Fortunately, every commandery had a teleportation point. As long as one could afford the cost, traveling between several nearby prefectures was entirely possible. By subtly steering the conversation, Xiao Yan also learned about the teleportation point nearest Falling Stone City. The only teleportation point in Western Star Commandery was located in Western Star City. As the Commandery's most prosperous city, it dwarfed Falling Stone City in both scale and prosperity. Fortunately, it wasn't far away, just over 10 days' journey on foot. Heavenlywood Prefecture was separated from the forest domain's border by 2 other prefectures. If one traveled continuously through the teleportation points, it would take only about 2 months to reach approaching Star City, the most prosperous city in the Western Forest domain. From there, a far more powerful spatial teleportation array could transport travelers to the Star Moon Spirit domain, home of Cloudfall Academy. Although Falling Stone City was only one of the 13 cities in Western Star Commandery, it was still quite expansive. According to Qin Fei, walking around the entire city would take at least 3 or 4 days. Like any respectable city, it had its trade fair, auction house, and mercenary corps, but what it had in greatest abundance were martial arenas. To Xiao Yan's disappointment, there was no alchemist guild. As Qin Fei explained, alchemists were exalted figures that Falling Stone City simply couldn't afford to keep. The entire Western Star Commandery had only one alchemist guild, naturally located in Western Star City. After all, the forest domain was nowhere near as prosperous as a great region like the Star Moon Spirit domain. As they talked and walked about half a day later, the outline of a city finally came into Xiao Yan's view. From afar, it resembled a gigantic beast lying prone upon the earth. Crowds bustled around the city gates, and the clamor of countless voices drifted through the air. Feeling the vibrant atmosphere, Xiao Yan smiled faintly, excitement shining in his eyes. It had been nearly 3 or 4 years since he had last seen so many people. It would have been impossible not to feel thrilled. Falling Stone City. Gazing at the 3 bold black characters above the city gate, Xiao Yan let out a long breath. He had finally arrived. As they approached the entrance, the number of people around them steadily increased, and the noisy chatter grew louder. After so long in solitude, Xiao Yan found the sudden barrage of sound somewhat overwhelming. Rubbing his temples with a wry smile, he followed Qin Fei and the others toward the gate. As they passed through, several soldiers guarding the entrance smiled upon seeing Qin Fei. One of the sturdier soldiers grinned and called out, "Brother Qin, You're back already. Looks like the trip went well. His gaze then shifted to Ling Fei beside him, and he let out a whistle. Little sister Ling Fei is getting prettier by the day. Qin Fei laughed and scolded. Stand your post properly instead of filling your head with nonsense all day. I'll buy you a drink another time. After receiving a glare from Ling Fei, the soldier chuckled sheepishly. Hearing Qin Fei's promise, his face lit up immediately, and he eagerly agreed. After entering the city amid the banter, Xiao Yan couldn't help smiling. The gate guards of Falling Stone City seemed rather undisciplined. The strongest among them was the burly soldier who had spoken earlier, yet judging from his aura, he had only recently advanced to the Emperor Soldier realm. The other 5 were merely around the level of 8-star Dodi. Having such weak soldiers guarding the city gates seemed rather absurd. Qin Fei chuckled. Little brother, do you know what poses the greatest threat to humans in the forest domain? Seeing Xiao Yan shake his head in confusion, Qin Fei replied with a slightly embarrassed smile. The beast tide. More than 300 years ago, a large-scale beast tide erupted in the western forest domain. Countless spirit beasts and heavenly beasts flooded into human cities, slaughtering everyone in their path. Falling Stone City was attacked by 3 intermediate heavenly beasts leading several thousand spirit beasts. The attack came without warning, and humanity was almost completely unprepared. Even after every expert in Falling Stone City joined the battle, they couldn't hold the line and were forced into a continual retreat. Just as the city was about to fall, reinforcements from Heavenly Wood Prefecture arrived in time and saved it from destruction. After that beast tide, Heavenly Wood Prefecture ordered every city to station guards at its gates so they could quickly report any future beast tide. But as the centuries passed without another beast tide, the gate guards in most cities gradually went from Emperor Spirit experts to people who haven't even reached the Emperor Soldier realm. Nowadays, it's little more than a formality and doesn't really serve much purpose. After hearing Qin Fei's explanation, Xiao Yan could only shake his head. Preparing for danger before it arrives was common sense. He truly couldn't understand what those city lords were thinking. Entering the city gate and looking at the somewhat familiar streets and shops, Xiao Yan could not help but fall into a brief daze. It felt as though he had not experienced this sensation for many years. The main street was over 10 meters wide, lined with shops on both sides, and the sounds of vendors calling out their wares never ceased. From some narrow alleys, faint bursts of children's laughter could even be heard. Little brother, if you plan to stay in Falling Stone City for a few days, why not stay with our Rockfall Mercenary Group? It's much safer than some inns. Hearing this, Xiao Yan hesitated slightly before lightly nodding and said, In that case, I'll be troubling Brother Qin. Right now, in Falling Stone City, he was unfamiliar with everything. If he could obtain more information from the Rockfall Mercenary Group, it would undoubtedly make things much more convenient for him. Wu Zhang, take the brothers back and make arrangements. I'll take little brother Xiao Yan to the trading market to sell those spirit cores before returning. With my position as captain, the group leader should agree. Qin Fei deliberately emphasized the words captain as he spoke to Wu Zhang beside him. Wu Zhang immediately understood and nodded. He cupped his hands toward Xiao Yan before leading the others away. After Wu Zhang left, Qin Fei enthusiastically led Xiao Yan toward the trading market. After passing through several streets, an open-air market appeared before Xiao Yan. It was called a market, but in reality, it was simply a gathering of street stalls. Glancing around, Xiao Yan estimated there were nearly 100 stalls, each displaying various goods, herbs, spirit cores, or even some unfinished medicinal liquids. Following Qin Fei somewhat helplessly, he arrived at the stall of a white-haired elder. Qin Fei clearly knew this old man and cupped his hand with a smile. Old Su. When the elder saw Qin Fei, he also chuckled, but what he said immediately froze the smile on Qin Fei's face. Hee hee. Young Master Qin, you're here? What good items are you bringing to this old man to sell? Qin Fei glanced awkwardly at Xiao Yan behind him. Seeing that Xiao Yan still wore a faint smile, he forced an embarrassed laugh while inwardly cursing the old man in front of him. He had been putting on an act, yet one sentence from this old fellow ruined everything. Seeing that Xiao Yan did not react, Qin Fei coughed lightly and said, "This time I brought some spirit cores for sale. Quite a lot." As he spoke, he waved his hand, and all 58 spirit cores belonging to Xiao Yan were poured out, piling up on the ground. Seeing so many spirit cores, not only the white-haired elder, but also the nearby stall owners revealed shocked expressions. Soon after, a trace of greed flashed in their eyes, but upon thinking of Qin, the second young master's father and the elder's own master, that greed quickly faded away. The white-haired elder looked at the pile of spirit cores in shock. Even his steady temperament was slightly shaken. After a pause, he clicked his tongue and said, "Young Master Qin, you didn't take out the treasures of Captain Qin, did you?" Qin Fei's rugged face immediately darkened. Looking at the old man before him, he even had the urge to strangle him for the first time. He said somewhat impatiently, "Just don't involve the Lei clan, all right?" Sensing the impatience in Qin Fei's tone, the white-haired elder also restrained his smile and lowered his head to carefully count the spirit cores on the ground. "These are intermediate spirit cores." When he saw several cores emitting a faint glow, the elder was slightly shocked. His gaze toward Qin Fei grew even more suspicious. He simply did not believe Qin Fei could have killed intermediate spirit beasts, so these cores were likely taken from his father. Forcing down the urge to strangle the old man, Qin Fei gave a bitter smile. "Old Su, can you just not ask?" The white-haired elder snapped back to attention and gave an awkward laugh. Thinking of the young man's background, he could not help but find it somewhat amusing. So what if they were taken from his father? With his status, it was not unusual. Shaking his head, old Su continued counting. Soon, a total of 63 spirit cores was determined. After estimating, he said, "Most of these low-level spirit cores come from spirit beasts below the level of 4 Dao Emperor soldiers. Each is worth 1,500 Emperor crystals. There are 56 low-level cores, so that's 90,000 Emperor crystals. The 8 intermediate cores are worth 4,000 each, totaling 122,000 Emperor crystals." Hearing this amount, which was far lower than expected, Qin Fei's embarrassment deepened. He glanced apologetically at Xiao Yan, who only smiled helplessly and nodded. The gap between 200,000 and this amount was indeed quite large. Seeing Xiao Yan agree, Qin Fei could only smile bitterly. Today he had truly lost face. Is young Master Qin planning to save up private money? After transferring the 120,000 Emperor crystals to Qin Fei's crystal card, old Su rolled his eyes and said, "My young master will be holding the final 5 challenges at the martial arena in the city center tomorrow. Young Master Qin might try his luck. If you win, you may receive a 500,000 reward from the family head." Hearing this, Qin Fei snorted and curled his lip. "Forget it. With young Master Lei's strength, I wouldn't even last one exchange. If I lose, the city lord would probably be furious." After leaving the market, Xiao Yan suddenly asked softly, "Brother Qin, what is that martial arena?" Qin Fei shrugged and was about to explain when he suddenly froze. Looking at Xiao Yan, he asked in surprise, "Little brother, you want to participate?" Seeing Xiao Yan's calm expression, Qin Fei couldn't help but let out a wry smile. After thinking for a moment, he said in a low voice, "Actually, if you participate, you might be able to defeat Lei Te. At that time, the city lord will definitely be grateful to you, but you will also end up offending the Lei clan." Hearing this vague explanation, Xiao Yan couldn't help frowning. What did this have to do with the city lord? Young friend may not know this. The Lei clan entered Falling Stone City a few years ago. It is said to be a branch of the Lei clan from Lingsing City's major family. The clan head, Lei Ku, that old man, was reportedly once a collateral member of the Lei clan in his youth. Later, after failing a clan mission, he was expelled from the family. He then brought his entire household here. After several years of development, they have already become the #1 clan in Falling Stone City. Half a year ago, Lei Ku's grandson, Lei Te, graduated from a small academy in Westerstar Commandery and returned to Falling Stone City. When Lei came back, he was already a second-tier imperial master and considered a top expert among the younger generation in Falling Stone City. Coincidentally, the newly appointed city lord from a year ago has a daughter who is only 20 years old, but already at the peak Emperor Soldier realm. She is also the goddess in the hearts of all the wolves in our mercenary corps. After returning, Lei fell for the city lord's daughter at first sight and relentlessly pursued her, but she refused him at every turn. Later, Lei's grandfather personally came to the door. Under pressure, the city lord had no choice but to agree. However, he set a condition. Within half a year, Lei must achieve 100 consecutive wins in the combat platform, limited to the younger generation under 25. But Lei, being a second-tier imperial master and possessing some extremely powerful imperial techniques, can even fight a third-tier emperor soldier. After a few challengers at the beginning, no other young people dared to go and suffer humiliation. A few months ago, Lei offered a reward of 200,000 Emperor Crystals for defeating Lei. At first, it attracted quite a few challengers, but Lei's strength was simply too overwhelming, and his methods were ruthless. Even though the reward kept increasing, there were still very few challengers. Until now, it has reached 500,000, and the Lei clan even promised to add an Emperor Decree as a bonus. Only then did more people start challenging him. Tomorrow will be the final 5 matches. If he wins them all, the brother's goddess will end up being taken by that bastard. After hearing Qin Fei's explanation, Xiao Yan's eyes suddenly lit up. 500,000 Emperor Crystals, plus an Emperor Decree. This was indeed a very tempting offer for him. After walking for a while, a rather imposing large courtyard blocked their path. Around the courtyard, several bare-chested, burly men were grinding their weapons, while a few female mercenaries were laying out beast hides to dry. Inside the courtyard stood tall pavilions, from which a faint, fierce aura emanated. "Captain Qin, you're back." Seeing Qin Fei, the men first showed joy, but then seemed to remember something and quickly suppressed their smiles, only greeting him indifferently. "Captain Qin, I heard from Wu Zhang that you encountered a Black Scaled Serpent outside. How was it? Were you injured?" Before they even entered the gate, a bold and hearty voice rang out. Then a middle-aged man in black walked out. Seeing Qin Fei safe and sound, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. When he heard that Qin Fei was almost swallowed alive by the Black Scaled Serpent, even Qin Wei's composure turned pale, and the table beneath his hand shattered instantly. Although Wu Zhang had repeated many times that Qin Fei was fine, only when Qin Wei saw him personally did he finally let out a heavy breath. So this must be the friend. "I am Qin Wei, the leader of the Rockfall Mercenary Group. Thank you for your assistance. Otherwise, Captain Qin would have," he chuckled, then cupped his hands toward Xiao Yan beside Qin Fei. With his eyesight, he could naturally see Xiao Yan's strength, a first-tier imperial master. But the fact that he could kick a Black Scaled Serpent to death showed that his true strength was far from ordinary. Emperor's spirit. Sensing Qin Wei's strength, Xiao Yan smiled faintly and cupped his hands in return. "Leader Qin is too kind. Captain Qin also helped me greatly earlier." Hearing the faint teasing in Xiao Yan's words, Qin Fei's old face immediately turned red, feeling extremely embarrassed. He tugged at Qin Wei's sleeve and said through gritted teeth in a low voice, "Xiao Yan already knows, stop acting." Hearing this, Qin Wei also flushed slightly, laughed awkwardly, and glared at Wu Zhang behind him. Then he smilingly invited Xiao Yan into the courtyard. Qin Fei, who followed closely behind, also glared at Wu Zhang in annoyance before walking inside. Wu Zhang immediately looked like he had been wronged, and, after a long while, muttered indignantly, "Fine, fine, you're all bosses. That father and son duo really have no conscience." "Mr. Xiao Yan, our humble residence is rather simple. I hope you won't mind any neglect." After instructing the servants to serve tea, Qin Wei smiled and said,